Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Oregairu, aka My Teen Romantic Comedy SNAFU, Season 2, Episode 9, okay? And this episode starts off with Hikigaya being embarrassed about how he acted in the last episode, which is actually kind of funny. Komachi came in and saw him acting that way and tried to cheer him up by doing an impression of him, which was spot on, by the way. She was talking about how, oh, people who yap about identities all the time are usually the ones with no identity. So which is something he would say. So I'd say she got that impersonation pretty well. Um, but those scenes were only in there just for some comedic relief, just for some comedy. Later, Hikigaya ends up going to the club room and kind of having some awkward interactions with Yukino, and then Yukino having awkward interactions with Yui, and it was just awkwardness pretty much because they both, like, all three of them kind of broke down the day before, and now they're all like trying to act normal, like it didn't happen, but it did. So things are just kind of awkward in the beginning, but eventually they get over it and they go to meet Iroha, and head to the meeting. One thing that was funny was the looks on their faces, what Yui and Yukino specifically. The looks on their faces when Iroha kind of just like held her bag up and Hickey just like willingly went and held her bag for her. That was the look on their face. They were just like in disbelief. Like, wait a second, wait, like, is there something going on here? Like, like they were kind of like in disbelief, but also kind of worried and like kind of getting defensive. It was just funny. All right. But eventually they do end up going to the meeting and realizing just how bad the situation is. All right, because Tamanawa ain't doing crap. Iroha ain't doing crap. Nobody's doing nothing. All right, nobody is doing anything here. Okay, so they realize how bad the situation is, and it's so bad that they actually just decide to go to Shizuka to ask for help and advice. And she ends up she ends up telling them that they don't understand Christmas because the thing that they're worrying about the most is the budget, but they should be trying to figure out how to capture the Christmas spirit. So what she does is she gives them tickets to Destiny Land, okay, so that they can end up figuring out what Christmas is about. All right, and Hikigaya actually fulfilled his role here pretty well because there was a little Shizuka made a little joke here referencing her conversation with Hikigaya from the last episode, where she says, oh, you did pretty well on your assignment, and Hickey like doesn't want the others to know that he had this really in depth, like this really deep conversation with Shizuka, so he tries to, pass it off as, oh, well, what do you mean? We didn't have any modern Japanese assignment, but that's not what she's talking about at all. She's talking about how he was supposed to get inside of Yui and Yukino and bring them all three of them together. All right. Um, and he filled that role here as well because Yukino was trying to like not go, and he was able to come up with an excuse to kind of make her and Yui and Iroha and everyone want to go. All right, um, but not just them though, because they end up bringing Hayama with them and Ebina, Rumiko, Tobe. No Psycho though, which was disappointing. Okay, that was disappointing. If you're gonna do something like this, you gotta bring Psycho. Okay, you gotta bring the best girl in the series with you. All right. Yui is second best girl, but Psycho is best girl. She's not a girl, but she is a girl. That she, she she's best girl. Okay, she's best girl. All right. Psycho is best girl. All right, that's all that needs to be said. All right, but yeah, the rest of the episode for the most part is just all of them hanging out at Destiny Land and enjoying themselves. Really, the only other things to talk about at Destiny Land are number one, the scene with Hikigaya and Yui. There was a moment there when they were kind of awkward together. It started off with like the panda doll Pan, but it got kind of awkward for them because Yui asked Hickey what he wanted, and he remembered him talking about what he wanted to them the day before. They just got awkward. You know, um, and then Yui pretty much just comes out and says she wants to go on a date with him. Specifically, she wants to go to that park again. She wants to go to Destiny Land with him. again, pretty much. That's pretty much what she said, right? That Hikigaya picked up on that and remembered back from the school festival in season 1 when she said that she was going to try and make the first move if she thought that there was no point in waiting for someone else to make that move. In this case, Hikigaya. So he picks up on that and realizes that she's trying to make a move. She's trying to do what she said she was going to do, and he subtly accepts this request for a date by making his own request for a date. Like he wasn't really asking her out on a date, but he pretty much was. Like he said that he would. He pretty much just said, why don't we just go to that new park across the street sometime in the future? So it was kind of subtle, but like he pretty much asked her out on a date, which is just strange for Hikigaya of all people to do, because that's not the type of person he used to be, at least. Because you remember that speech he had about how he doesn't like nice girls because they give him false hope and all that, and back when Yui first started showing feelings towards him and treating him, being excessively nice to him, he put a stop to it because he didn't want to give himself that false hope and think that he actually had a chance with her. But now he's kind of just like he's just going with it, and he's starting to allow himself to have hope again. All right, because he's seen that this goes back to what he was talking about like an episode or two ago. All right, about how he acted the way he did because he thought that was the best way for him to act, but that way he was acting ended up hurting people that were close to him, and he realized that maybe the way I thought I should be isn't how I should actually be. Okay, so now he's going and changing himself, when he's allowing himself to have hope. All right, so he pretty much asks Yui out on a date, pretty much. I mean, not really, but pretty much. That's pretty much what happens. All right, here. That's pretty much what happens in this scene. Um, and you would think from that, oh, well, he's getting closer to Yui. She's probably going to be the end game here when it comes to who's going to win in the end. But then you see the scene with Yukino, okay, which is the second scene I wanted to talk about. Okay, he's actually getting closer to Yukino as well. Okay, because her and Hikigaya went to go ride that ride from earlier in the episode when it was, at first, it was Yui, Yukino, and Hikigaya together. All three of them rode it. But this time, Yui was off somewhere. What happened? Did they get? I think they were the last. I think there was a cutoff, so then Yukino and Hiki couldn't get on the ride, and they had to do it separately. I don't remember, right? But the point is, Hikigaya and Yukino rode the ride themselves, just the two of them, okay? And Yukino ends up telling Hikigaya the story about how Haruno and her would go to that place when they were younger, and when they were there, Haruno would always be messing around with her and stuff, And after that, she asks Hikigaya to save her one day, which I'm assuming is in regards to her situation with Haruno in some way, shape, or form. It has to be related to that, because she ends up going on to say that she talks more about her sister. She says she doesn't want to be her sister, but she acknowledges that her sister has something that she doesn't, and Hikigaya has something that she doesn't as well. Okay, and she thought that in order to be saved, she would have had to have gotten something that neither of them had. Okay, but that didn't work out for her, so now she's asking Hikigaya to save her. Okay, and she never actually told us what that thing was. All right, but she believes that there's something out there that Hikigaya and Haruno don't have that she possibly can attain. Um, but yeah, Yukino is definitely getting closer with Hikigaya as well, not just Yui. Um, she recognizes the fact that her and her sister are different from each other. She knows why people consider her sister to be better than her, because they look at her and they see By her, I mean Yukino. They look at Yukino and they see someone who's unfriendly and unlikable. But Haruno, everybody loves Haruno, you know. But she's fine with that. She doesn't want to be her sister, you know. So she just wants to get something that her sister doesn't have. You know, she wants to be different. She wants to be different, pretty much. She wants to be different from her sister, in some way, shape, or form. Um, but at the same time, they do have similarities. So it's not like she wants to be a completely different person. She wants to be similar to her sister, but have something that's just hers. You know, something that's just hers that her sister can't have or attain. Okay, um, but it will be through that that she will be saved. Okay, and then she asks Hikigai to save her. Okay, so yeah, that's the second scene. And the last scene is Iroha confessing her feelings to Hayama. Okay, which was sad. Because the way they animated this really, really well. I like the way they did this, and then they didn't let you hear the dialogue going on between the two of them. You just see Hayama just like he clearly didn't say yes, clearly. Um, then Iroha just kind of like breaks down and just runs off, and it was kind of sad to watch because you kind of feel for her, you know. You know, Iroha didn't start off as the most likable of characters, but but like as these episodes have gone on, you kind of get attached to her, and you don't like she might not be your favorite character, but she's certainly not like your she's certainly not a character who you want to see in pain. You know, you don't want to see her hurt. You know, so yeah, it was kind of sad to see this, and you could tell Hikigaya wanted to do something about it because when she ran off, Hikigaya was like the most worried one of the bunch. You know, Hikigaya truly does care about Iroha. I don't know how it is exactly that he cares about her, but he does care about her. You know, so I would assume that next episode he'll probably go after her or something. Um, but as for this episode, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a good episode. There was some comedy in the beginning that wasn't really relevant. It was just there to have some comedy there. Um, and there wasn't any real legitimate story development here in this episode. It was mostly just character development stuff. The best parts of this episode came at the end with those three scenes, with the one with Iroha, the one with Yui, and the one with Yukino. Those three scenes were like the best parts of the episode. And everything else was kind of like, oh, you know, it was cool, but you know, whatever, you know, not necessary, but kind of cool. So, because of those three scenes carrying the episode, pretty much, I would give this episode an 8 out of 10. And that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at BlacklistOTA. And I'll see you guys next time.